All right, welcome back for a little bit more information on using completing the square in order to determine the center and radius of your circle. I'm just going to continue working the problems in the notes packet. And again, don't be ashamed of needing a little bit more practice. When I saw this for the first time, it took me a few tries to get the hang of it too. So in looking at number 2, the way that I'm going to begin is to group every term that has an X in it together, remembering that I also need to leave room to complete the square. And then I'll do the same thing for the terms that have a Y in them, remembering again that I need to leave room to complete the square. And anybody that doesn't have an X or a Y gets added or subtracted and moved to the other side of the equation. And then I'm going to remember that whatever number goes in the green blank, I'm going to have to add to both sides, as well as whatever number goes in the blue blank, I'm going to need to add to both sides. So I'm going to go look there. Half of -4 is -2. When I square -2, I end up with 4, and that's the number that's going to go in the green blank on both sides. Half of 6 is 3. When I square it, I get 9, and that's the number that goes in the blue blank on both sides. Now I'm going to go ahead and factor. So all the terms in green will factor into an x minus 2 times an x minus 2. When I factor the terms in blue, they'll factor into a y plus 3 times a y plus 3. And then lastly, in this line, I'll combine all the terms on the right side of my equation, and I end up with 9. And now I'll write this as the square of one number, and that number that's going to be squared is x minus 2. I'll rewrite everything that's in blue as the square of one number, or the square of y plus 3, and leave the equals 9 alone. So now I've determined that the center of my circle has coordinates 2, -3. The radius of my circle has length equal to the square root of 9, which is 3. Excellent. All right, and moving on to number 3, I'm going to go ahead and begin by grouping the x terms together, the y terms together, and moving the constant to the other side. And I want you to go ahead and pause the video right now while you complete that same step on your paper. Very well then. Hopefully once you began this question, your paper looks a lot like mine. And if you like colors and have fun with colors, definitely feel free to bring your highlighters or your colored pencils to these problems. So now my mission becomes to look at that number, take half of it, add it to both sides, half of that number, add it to both sides. And again, I'm going to have you go ahead and pause the video while you determine what number belongs in both the purple and the green blanks. All right, hopefully you decided on 25 for the purple blank, 1 for the green blank. And the way I made that determination is I took half of the -10, which was -5, squared it, added it to both sides. Half of the -2, squared it, added it to both sides. Now I want you to go ahead and again pause the video. And while the video is paused, I want you to go do your factoring on the left side of the equation and combining your terms on the right side. All right, so hopefully you ended up with x minus 5 times x minus 5 plus y minus 1 times y minus 1 equals 16. And then the last step in this whole process is to go ahead and rewrite the x minus 5 times itself as x minus 5, the quantity squared. Rewrite the y minus 1 times itself as y minus 1, the quantity squared, equals 16. And now that you've completed the square, we can determine that the coordinates of the center of the circle are 5, 1, and the radius is the square root of 16, which is 4. All right, likewise, on number 4, I want you to pause the video for a minute and go ahead and get the first step of this problem started. One thing you want to make sure that you're doing as you work through these problems is that make sure whatever terms you're adding to the left side, you're also remembering to add to the right side. Okay, I want you to again pause the video and go make the determination about what the next step should look like by filling in the blanks on your paper. All right, so hopefully for the blue X's, you added 4. For the purple Y's, you added 9. And again, make sure you remember to add that not only to the left side of your equation, but to the right side as well. All right, I'm going to ask you to one last time go ahead and pause the video and see if you can finish this problem up and take it through to the end. All right, so when all was said and done and I wrapped it up, I ended up with x minus 2, the quantity squared, plus y plus 3, the quantity squared, equals 9, making the center and radius of my circle 2, negative 3 for the center, radius 3. All right, so while this is a challenging topic algebraically, it's definitely not impossible. And hopefully you've begun to establish a good background, and we'll work harder on completing the square when you come back to class the next time around.